Honorable Senators, please be seated. Blackrod, please let members of the House of Representatives know that I desire their attendance in the Senate chamber.
Mr. Speaker, the Black Rod has a message from His Excellency the President.
Administer the Black Rod.
Mr. Speaker, His Excellency the President desires the attendance of honorable members of this House in the Senate chamber.
I would be glad if honorable members would join me in the Senate chamber.
Welcome, Honorable Senators and members of the House of Representatives, to the state opening of the 8th Parliament of WolvHaven. It is a pleasure to see the public of WolvHaven use their democratic right to choose their own server's future, and I believe that the will of the people will bring us forward into the future. With the term ahead being 6 months long rather than 3, the importance of the elected government is greater than it has ever been, and the decisions it makes through the next 6 months will shape the future of WolvHaven forever. My government is committed to fulfill the promises it made to the people during the election and wants to see a brighter WolvHaven develop in its footsteps. Economy. My government has been elected into power with a mandate to conduct a full reset of the WolvHaven economy to make it fairer and more balanced for all of WolvHaven. The server is on the brink of a new era of ambition and achievement, and with the opening of Fifth Haven coming ever closer, this government believes that to bring this new era, we need a new economy. The current system that has been in place for many years has now fallen behind and is no longer sufficient for WolvHaven and its needs. It is causing a large balance gap between veteran players and newer players, with the issue also true between people who play on survival and those who play on creative. My government has already succeeded in making the current system fairer to creative players through the Architect Reward Scheme, but this is only a small part of a much larger project to entirely redesign the economy. My government wants to see drastic change made to how the economy works to survival players by removing the job system entirely and replacing it with a government exchange, whereby players can sell their items to be sold in admin shops for a monetary reward in return. It has been identified that the issues could arise from this where retail competition would dwindle. Therefore, to tackle this, the admin shops will be buying products for very low amounts and selling items for much higher amounts. A full reset of the economy is a very ambitious and extensive project, and therefore this government plans firstly to introduce a committee which will investigate thoroughly the problems of today's economy so that tomorrow's economy is equal to everyone. Being prepared is acutely important to ensuring the success of what my government has set out to do. My government is seeking to create an economy that works for everyone by giving players more opportunities to earn money and a fairer way to spend it. Gardalia. As a government working for the prosperity of Gardalia, my government is committed to the cause of Gardalian autonomy and the existence of its own assembly where plans can be discussed and issues can be resolved. With the previous success in passing the Gardelia Federalization and Council Establishment Bill, my government will continue to support the establishment and running of the Assembly on the terms that were agreed in the bill. It is important to make sure that the Assembly continues to function throughout the first few months before it has been fully settled into the running of WolvHaven. Therefore, this government pledges to continue its full support of the Council throughout the next 6-month term. My government also promises to introduce a tougher approach to towns which are exploiting land by expanding transport systems and infrastructure without expanding the urban area itself. This issue disadvantages surrounding towns by giving them less space to expand on themselves. This government wants everyone in Gardelia to have a fair opportunity of building their own individual towns, and therefore by introducing harder policy on the towns which exploit land, it can be ensured that towns will grow organically and everyone in Gardelia will be given a fair chance to express their creativity. The time will come when the amount of towns developing in Gardelia will place too much pressure on the region, meaning an expansion of the region will become necessary in the future. My government wants to be prepared for this eventuality, and therefore a committee will be enacted to investigate into the feasibility of expanding Gardelia when the time comes and how it will be conducted in a way which won't hinder other towns. Being prepared for what will face us in the future is key to making sure that Gardelia can progress unhindered and efficiently. My government sees great potential in the future of Gardelia, and in order to develop it, it needs to be supported, which is what will be done over the next 6-month term of government. Copyright. WolvHaven thrives on its originality and inventiveness, and therefore my government will commit itself to making sure this creativeness is maintained by establishing new policies to copyright different structures and designs to ensure the originality of people's builds is protected from plagiarization from other players, and so that WolvHaven continues to be a forward-thinking server for people to let their creative side free without worry. Civil rights. Civil rights and liberties in WolvHaven is something cherished and something for us to take pride in. WolvHaven is unique in its respect for citizens whatever their personality may be. My government will continue these liberties through the next term of Parliament by creating a bill which will facilitate a major overhaul of the current mentionable server whitelist, which is currently prohibiting the public's freedom of expression unfairly and unjustifiably. This bill will set out to entirely remove this whitelist and replace it with a strict set of rules on how and when servers can be mentioned. The removal of this whitelist must be balanced and continued moderation of any advertisement to make sure that this new measure does not create a situation where advertisement of servers becomes an issue. That is why this government will make sure that the rules specify the context of where servers can be mentioned. Overall, this government is committed to the civil liberties and freedom of expression that we treasure so dearly here in WolvHaven. Government. The role of government currently in WolvHaven is not developed enough to reflect the powers it should be given as the democratically elected leadership of the Federation of WolvHaven. My government promises to establish how the elected government functions in WolvHaven and make it more important to the governing of the Federation. Currently, the only power held by the elected government is to call a snap election, which is a very limited responsibility to hold for such a highly regarded position of power. Therefore, my government proposes to introduce a series of bills which will come together to form a thorough level of development of the role of the government in WolvHaven. This will include granting the government powers to declare a state of emergency with approval of the President, in which it can enact emergency laws without them having to go through the House of Representatives or the Senate. It also grants it the power to appoint people into certain positions of WolvHaven politics, such as Chief Minister of Gardelia. Overall, this plan will greatly advance how WolvHaven is administered, and this government will take great pride in the fact that it has created a more democratic WolvHaven where the people's choice is what drives the server forward. In conclusion, this government has been elected on a mandate for change. WolvHaven is now lagging behind as it enters a new era of prosperity with an insufficient economy and an aging rule system. This government knows what is necessary and what is needed to be done for WolvHaven and for its people. What is done in Parliament will be done with the people's sentiments at the forefront of decision making and the people's beliefs. WolvHaven needs and deserves change, and change is what I know this government will securely deliver as it has promised. I have faith and trust in this government, and I know that it will be a strong and reliable government which will have WolvHaven's prosperity at its heart. I would like to wish this government the best for the next 6 months, and I, with great honor and dignity, now declare open the 8th Parliament of WolvHaven.